And I'll call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Metropolitan Council for Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. I'm Councilmember Robert Lilligren. At the request of the chair, I'm going to be chairing this meeting today. They had to go very deep on the bench today due to some absentees. And I think this is my very first time chairing a full council meeting here at the Met Council, so happy to be doing it. I'll just let you know things are going to be a little different around here.
Andy's last.
You've been warned.
I didn't know what to stop.
All right. So, no, thank you, council members. We had a challenge making quorum due to council members attending conferences, traveling, some illnesses, and so I really appreciate everyone being here tonight and being here in such a timely manner. And I really have to commend the East Metro. You guys are killing it tonight. West Metro.
Yes.
There you go. So, all right, council members. The first item is approval of the agenda. Unless someone has any additions or corrections, I'll just consider it approved. It's approved. Second is approval of the October 9th, 2024 Met Council meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, council members Bento and Lindstrom. Any discussion, additions, corrections on the minutes? Hearing none, all in approval, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. Our first business item, and this will be a roll call item, is the Metro Council Public Comment Draft for the 2024 Unified Budget. It's item 2024-281, and it says Ned Smith is here to present. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a public invitation. I'm sorry, I skipped over that business item. So the first, next item on our agenda is public invitation. So this is the time when any interested parties may address the council on items that are not on the agenda for this evening. As a rule, we ask folks to pre-register at public.info@met.state.mn.us. But if you're here and you came to address us on something today that is not on the agenda, now's the time to do so. Anyone? 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 Hearing none, seeing none, we will move on the agenda. Thanks for pointing that out. To our first business item, which is 2024-281. This is the Metropolitan Council Public Comment Draft of the 2024 Unified Budget. And this sort of said Ned Smith is supposed to be here to present. Is that not accurate?
Mr. Chair, I think
Yeah, Councilmember Lee.
I think I just moved.
It's to set, it's to get the public comment pieces set. So Ned is the one who worked here with the management committee.
Okay.
And I think Councilmember Lee, you have, I think, has the comments on it.
Oh, perfect. Councilmember Lee.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. This item requests that the council adopt the proposed 2025 unified budget for the purpose of gathering public comment. The property tax levies are consistent with those approved by the council in August. Changes to the operating budget from the adopted August preliminary budget were presented and discussed at the council's meeting on October 9th. The capital program is up to date with amendments approved by the council in 2024, includes planned and authorized projects through 2030, and is consistent with the presentation made to the council on October 9th. Budget changes necessitated by new information and economic factors, including an update to Invest and regional sales tax forecasts released by MMB in early December, are expected to occur prior to final adoption in December. Public comment for the record will be accepted via phone, mail, or email until 5 p.m. on December 11th. The public will also be allowed to provide comment at 6 p.m. during the council's meeting on December 11th. Mr. Chair and council members, the proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council adopt the public comment draft of the 2025 Unified Budget.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember. Was that a motion?
Yeah.
Cool. Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Is there discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Hearing none, I will turn to the recording secretary, please, for a roll call.
Roll call commence. Pacheco?
Yeah, yes.
Osman?
Aye.
Lindstrom?
Aye.
Cedarburg?
Aye.
Bento?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Carter?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
And Lindstrom.
Lilligren.
Lilligren, I'm sorry.
Yep, the chair votes aye. That's right, people do it all the time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks. We're having a little connectivity issue with our Wi-Fi. I don't know if others are. So the regional administrator is grabbing some paper copies for folks to have something in front of them. So, cool. And do folks want to pause until they have those agenda in front of them, or should we keep moving?
I got the agenda. But
Okay, yeah. One tab of mine open, the rest won't open, so.
yeah, agenda, I miss it.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is our consent. Business items, there's 13. Oh wait, there's 13 on my printed copy, but there's only 12 on my. We'll need to reconcile that.
You know what, I've got the agenda. Thank you so much.
Told me they didn't make any changes.
Good secretary.
Seems that this one is out of place. You have 262 hours.
Yep, 262.
It is not there.
Where's 262?
Was it there? See how it's between
256, 262,
274.
270, 271, 272, 273, 274. 262 is not online.
That's it.
So this item is not on the online agenda.
Unified Planning Work Program.
Yeah. Oops, no, I'm timed out. I'm gonna go by this agenda since
Yes.
this is the one that's in
Okay.
front of me.
Chair, I'd like to ask, is 262 on there twice as number 2 and number 8?
Is there a typo?
Ah,
Yes,
there.
that's
Good. Hi, Councilmember Vento. So it is a 12 item.
Points.
Extra credit points tonight.
That was a school teacher move
Yep,
there from a
very
former
good.
school teacher, right?
We all bring our skills, right, and our experience. So it is.
Get to show them.
Well done. So it is a 12-item consent agenda. Following items 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 would be slightly different numbered, right? Everything would move up one. But we have the 12 items in front of us. Should I read them?
No, you don't need to.
Well, all right. So that's the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Great. Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in approval, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The consent agenda carries, so we'll move on to the non-consent business items. Report from standing committees. The first is Community Development Committee, and our Vice Chair of Community Development has kindly consented to deliver that report. Councilmember Bento.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, council members. Business item 2024-275 SW is to approve the Notice of Funding Availability, NOFA, for the 2024 Fishing Piers Grant Program. And here's a lengthy but really informative summary. The 2024 Minnesota Legislature appropriated $500,000 for new fishing piers on lakes in the Metropolitan Parks system to increase fishing opportunities. This funding is a one-time appropriation and must be spent by June 30th, 2026. Legislation requires staff to solicit applications but does not require a competitive grant review process. Staff considered different approaches to provide a fair program for the regional park implementing agencies that would fit with the short timeline. Staff consulted with the agencies to determine the average cost for a high-quality fishing pier. In consultation with the agencies, staff decided the best approach for this funding would be to hold a lottery offering 4 grants of $125,000 each. That would be a total of $500,000. Agencies may each submit one application in web grants. A lottery will be held at the February Metropolitan Parks and Open Space Commission to select the 4 projects. On October 3rd, 2024, the Metropolitan Parks and Open Space Commission voted unanimously to approve the proposed actions and also added a third action to consider using council funds to match the state appropriation. If we had been able to do that, that would have allowed for 8 park agencies to participate, and we had been told that 8 were interested. Park staff consulted with council budget leadership and determined this request would not be possible in the time frame available due to council budget timelines. On October 21st, 2024, the Community Development Committee voted unanimously to remove the amended third action and approve the first and second actions. So therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council, one, approve the 2024 Regional Park System Fishing Piers Grant Program Notice of Funding Availability. Boy, that's a lot of words. Attached to this report. And number two, approve the funding and awarding of 4 grants selected through a lottery as outlined in the NOFA.
Right. Councilmember Vento has made a motion. Is there a second? Thank you. Councilmember Lee, I think, had it first. Thank you for your informed perspective on this as well, Councilmember Vento, and for representing us on MPOSC and also helping to lead the discussion in Community Development Committee. Discussion on the motion, Councilmember Vento.
Yes, Madam, or Mr. Chair. I want to first commend the staff. Jessica, is Jessica here? Where is it? Oh, there you are. I'm looking right at you. Jessica has done an incredible job in terms of taking this and turning it around and making it into a doable project with a doable timeline. She engaged the MPOSC members earlier to get their input. The MPOSC members were really enthused about this. The one thing that's exciting about this is that this is such a multicultural hobby in our region. And it is something that the agencies are very interested in. It's new fishing piers. It's not repairing existing fishing piers. It's new fishing piers. It's on lakes. And it will provide a great opportunity. And I do want to note that State Representative Rick Hansen was the legislator who led the charge on this. Although our MPOSC members wish he had kind of shot for a higher number, we're grateful for the 500,000.
You're here. Well said. Oh, it looks like we might be coming back online here. Yep. Further discussion on that motion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in approval, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. Thank you, Councilmember. Yeah, Councilmember Vento.
I just want to add one more thing under community development. I apologize, I should have cleared this with you.
Council for October 21st, 2024.
I saw that part.
Rerun.
Oh, I didn't know where that was coming from. Anyway, I just, as everybody was coming in, you couldn't help but see and go for the cake. And you'll notice that a number of people are wearing great hats to celebrate the 50th anniversary of MPOSC. It's a remarkable feat to get to 50 years. A lot of work has gone into it. I want to salute our park agencies. I want to salute our MPOSC members. I am just really thrilled with the folks who've really stepped up. We've got all of the positions on MPOSC filled, which took a little bit of juggling, but I really want to salute the staff as well. All too often, staff go unrecognized. Under the leadership of Emmett Mullen, our staff does a phenomenal job, and I do want to point out that we're really, 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 really going to miss Amanda Lovely. So, is that okay for me to say that? Okay. Pardon?
It's official.
It's official. So anyway, Amanda will be leaving us, but there'll always be a welcome spot for you here, Amanda, so thank you.
Thanks for your words, Councilmember Vento. And I will note that our first information item is the recognition of the 50 years, and so we'll have
I'm
more
sorry.
opportunity. No,
I wasn't paying
Can never
attention
say
to
enough
the
good things about them, so, yeah, well said. Moving on the agenda to the Management Committee report, I will turn to Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
What? Did we vote on that?
We did.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Man, are you hazing me?
I put her up to it, sorry.
Councilmember Lee. Councilmember Lee.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. This is labor agreement with the Transit Managers and Supervisors Association, also known as TMSA. The TMSA contract expired on December 31st, 2023. TMSA represents 334 managers and supervisors working across all divisions of Metro Transit. Following a recommendation from the TMSA Executive Board, the TMSA membership ratified the agreement on October 15th, 2024. Highlights of the agreement include a 3-year contract effective January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2026. A compensation package that includes a 5.5 general wage increase in year 1, a 4.5 general wage increase in year 2, and a 3% general increase in the 3rd year of the contract. For each year of the agreement, employees in the performance zone who meet expectations will receive an additional 2.5%. This follows the pattern of other labor agreements with similar wage structures. The cost of the labor agreement was reviewed by Finance and was negotiated within the economic parameters established by the council. This item was reviewed and approved by the Management Committee on October 23rd, 2024. Mr. Chair, the Management Committee moves approval to authorize the Regional Administrator to enter into a labor agreement with the Transit Managers and Supervisors Association effective January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2026.
Thank you, Councilmember Lee. Councilmember Lee has made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Osman. A couple of points I just want to make. I really want to thank our interim senior manager of labor relations, Joy Harkins, who's here. And then to note that this is the same week item. So those of us who serve on management committee just voted on this in committee as well. So excellent work. Discussion on Councilmember Lee's motion. Here, Regional Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just add, this brings us to the end of this round of bargaining. And I think it's always important to appreciate the amount of work that it takes from all sides, from labor leadership to rank and file, to the HR team and to the council itself, working to set parameters at management committee about where we can be. And I think that through the agreements that have come through, and Councilmember Johnson has reiterated this on multiple occasions before Councilmember Lee today as well, these agreements set the organization up to be strong in a tight labor market time when we need to be attracting the best to come and work here. And we hope to see results from that. We'll continue to give updates through management committee about how trends are going in our workforce, both in attraction and retention as we go forward, but really excited by that. And it is a big moment. So thank you for the applause. We all should take a moment and do that.
Thanks. Well done. Well done to our staff and to labor and to all participants. Any further discussion on the motion? Further discussion? Hearing none, all in approval, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. Well done. And we've completed our reports of standing committees for this agenda, so we'll move on to our information items. And the first information item, aptly introduced by Councilmember Vento, is celebrating 50 years with the Regional Parks and Trails System, and that is quite an event to celebrate. And so we'll welcome Emmett Mullen to kick off this presentation or to lead this presentation. Congratulations.
Thanks, Chair and council members. It is a pleasure to be here today in front of you with sort of a fun and short item. I mean it this time. Councilmember Vento.
It's never short when they say it's gonna be short. That was the joke, right?
Thank you for teeing this up, and thank you for your commitment to the Metropolitan Parks and Open Space Commission. Councilmember Wolf, we thank you for your at least 8+ years on the Metropolitan Parks and Open Space Commission. One of the reasons why we have such a great system of regional parks and trails is because we have a strong council presence and a commitment to help support it. So we were going to sing happy birthday. We'll skip that today, but I am wearing a hat today to celebrate 50 years of the regional park system. This, obviously, if you do the math, 2024 minus 1974, 50, and it's been a long time, but if you look at our system, like you folks do and know our system, it's actually quite a bit older than that. But in 74, the state legislature decided, we are growing rapidly, we are losing high quality natural resources, waterfront, and they did something about it. And so they passed a law and they put this system in place. And at that time, there were 31,000 acres of existing regional parks and trails. And that first year, there were 5 million visits. So fast forward to today, 50 years later, the council has invested $1.5 billion, the council and state, in the regional system. This last year, there were over 69 million visits. So, it's a central feature of this region. So, So I'm just going to go quick now, but, park amenities, we've evolved a bit. If you look at that upper right-hand picture, that is Lake Harriet from the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. And it's just that sort of classic Eastern Shore, and it doesn't look that different. There's some really groovy people down there in the lower right, roller skating down the parkway, I think, the Minnehaha Parkway. But just, that was probably in the 70s. It was, things have changed. Policy has evolved. We started, in 1974 with a pretty clear list of like fishing, biking, picnicking. That's evolved a lot to today, and I think that we've expanded the range of recreational opportunities. A lot has stayed the same. Our commitment to protecting natural resources, that be the foundation of the system. But we have a much bigger and more, I think, inclusive system than ever before. That upper left-hand corner is, it was a really small project that Amanda Lovely worked on with Ramsey County that brought in young artists. This is the idea that Marlena Miles put the We Are on Dakota Land bus. That was one of the signs, and then Amanda had a dream about getting that on a bus. Metro Transit was incredibly supportive and helpful making that happen. That really athletic-looking game is called CPAC Takra. That's just an active game that folks play. Lower right, yep, we even have skateboarding on Bidet-Makaska. Everywhere, no, but some places where it's appropriate. And then the lower left, I just want to mention, Indian Mounds Regional Park. That's a real, that park over the last 10 years has been transformed into a place of reflection, remembrance, and honoring the cemetery that exists there today, that's fully recognized today. So any way you look at it, we're ready for another 50 years. These are just some great photos of the range of people. Do we need to continue working on the inclusivity in our regional parks? Yes, we do, but we are working on it and we are making progress. So thank you for helping us celebrate the first 50 years. Let's hope for a lot more 50 years. I don't want to end without just recognizing that our regional parks system is really there because of our 10 regional park implementing agency partners. From Anoka County, I won't go through the whole list, all the way to Washington County. And they are central, they are truly partners, and we are in it together. So thanks for your support and thanks for listening.
Thank you, Emmett. Thanks very much. Any comments or questions on that report? Councilmember Bento.
I should have asked you this before the meeting, and so I'm not trying to set you up, Emmett, but do you know if there's any way of finding out who the authors of the legislation were in 1974?
Mr. Mullen.
Mr. Chair, council members, I bet we could find out or just ask Lisa Barajas. But
Director Ross.
I ask because
I'll get back.
Yeah, because if it happens that they're still with us, I think it'd be really nice for the council to send a letter commending them for that, and there's a good chance that whoever did that, and if they're not with us, they probably got, the Willard Munger Bike Trail or something named after them, so.
Thank you for suggesting that. I'll look into it and get back to
The
you.
regional administrator is nodding, so I think we'll move forward with your idea. Councilmember Bento.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And then,
I'm sorry, did you want to say something, Emmett, or should I go to Councilmember Cedarberg? Councilmember Cedarberg.
Oh, thank you. Emmett and I recently just met with the Washington County Parks Department, and they are, thrilled with the partnership with the Met Council, Big Marine Park and Lake and everything they've done. And so being able to keep and maintain and expand our partnerships has just been really crucial. And that was a very positive meeting. And we talked about the 2050 plan, the equity and inclusivity that we're trying to build. And then they talked about what they're trying to do with equity and inclusivity, and there was the whole Parks Commission was there. There was a robust discussion about that and different things that could be done. So I know that Emmett and his team gets out to meet with all these partners as well. And it was a really, really good meeting, and they're thrilled to partner with us as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Cedarburg, for that report and for your participation with the Washington County Parks folks. Further discussion on the report? Any further discussion? Yeah, Councilmember Lindstrom.
I was just thinking about that number, 69 million visitors. And I bet in 2019, it was probably about in the mid-50s, maybe 59, something like that.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic happened, and everybody had to be 6 feet apart, unless you were at the parks, or probably still at the parks, but it was a lot easier to do. And everybody felt that cabin fever in 2000, 2001, 2002, and they went out to the parks. And that number went to 60 million and then 65, and people figured out, wow, these are great places to be. So won't it be cool in 2074 when we look back and we one way or another, and someone in your position will be like, 50 years ago it was only at 69 million. And now it's at whatever the number is.
Yeah, thanks, Councilmember Lindstrom, for the observation as well. And it's always amazing. We continue to learn more and more positive things that came out of the COVID era, and increased visitorship to our regional parks is one of them. Cool. Any further conversation, discussion? If not, maybe we can just take a moment to give the parks folks a round of applause for the work they did. Thank you for that report. Regional Administrator.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'll take this moment to also highlight that Amanda, there she is, she was hiding behind 2 levels in there, was part of the Ramsey County team that was recently recognized by the National Park and Recreation Association for an Innovation and Equity Award this year for the work called Signs of Belonging. And so this was a big deal, and to see that partnership play out where one of our own got to be a part of that, congratulations, Amanda. Congratulations to Ramsey County as well, but it's been recognized nationally too.
Thank you, Ryan, for bringing that up. Any further discussion on this item? Yeah, Mr. Mullen.
Chair Lilligren and council members, I just wanted to reiterate the appreciation that a number of people have said. Amanda Lovely has been a great partner to the parks team, to the community development division, to the council, and to the regional park implementing agencies. She is the one who is connected in the arts world, she and her team. Louise Fitch, Peter Thompson, there's art all over here, and that's new and that's exciting. And while Amanda will go, she's not going far. She's going to the Environmental Protection Agency and Stanford University, but she'll remain connected, and we'll continue.
Thank you for that, Amanda, best of luck to you. Thanks for all of your excellent work and partnership, and best of luck to you in your future endeavors. Sure. Cool. Ready to move on? Great. Moving on in the agenda to our final information item. It is proposed fare policy changes, and I thought we had Charles Carlson here, Dennis Dvorak as well, and others to present.
Jillian Linnell.
Jillian Linnell. Welcome, team.
Squeeze in. All right. Do you want to do slides or do you want me to?
Charles, you starting us off? No, okay. Jillian, you starting us off?
I'm going to start us off.
All right, thank you.
It's a tag team effort. All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the council. As we just said, my name is Jillian Linnell, Chief of Staff for Metro Transit.
Charles Carlson, Executive Director, MTS.
Dennis Dvorak, Revenue Operations.
And we're here today to present a proposed fare policy changes. So Quick overview of the topics that we are going to cover. We're going to start today with just an overview of why we're looking at doing these fair policy changes now. Then we're going to revisit some of the Met Council's Fair Policy Authority, along with the history of the most recent fair policy changes that have taken place. We'll do an overview of the regional fair collection system, the fair structure that currently exists, and the fair collection system upgrade that is currently underway. Then we'll review the proposed fair policy changes and talk about some proposed next steps. So this is a little bit of an overview slide. Also, just to kind of lay out that this is part of an overall vision that we have for transit in the region, and that there are a number of efforts concurrently going on right now, many of which you're all familiar with, that are helping us advance this overall improved ridership, improved network, improved connectivity across the region. So in addition to the proposed fair policy changes, you are all aware with the new coverage and increased frequencies that we're proposing for our service outlined in Network Now, the continued metro system expansion that's underway, and the improving of the conditions on our actual system, which are mostly outlined in the Safety and Security Action Plan. So, jumping into the fair policy changes and why we are looking at them right now. There's a good number of reasons. First and foremost is the goal of improving the overall customer experience. So the goal of some of the proposals that we have today is to simplify and make it easier for our customers to interact with the system, use the system. Hopefully that will achieve goal number 2, which is to increase our ridership. Some of the proposed changes are really trying to address the post-COVID ridership trends and help encourage riders back onto the systems. We're also looking at these changes as an opportunity to improve safety and the interactions between our riders and our operators by making the fare system easier to understand. And then finally, there are a number of equity components included in these proposals, and the goal of making the system more equitable for all of our riders. So the Metropolitan Council's authority to establish and enforce fare policy is established in Minnesota Statute 473.408. Our authority is further clarified in one policy and one procedure, which outline the different types of fare policy changes that we are able to implement and the required public hearing processes that are required. And then as noted on the slide, the last fare adjustment that went into effect took place on October 1st, 2017. These fare policy changes were made to generate additional fare revenue, promote equity, and simplify the fare structure. And a quick overview of those fare changes is included on the right-hand side of the slide.
Our fare collection system consists of different types of fare collection, whether it's going to be off-board or on-board. The on-board fare payment includes using the fare boxes for cash tokens, coupons, and transfers. The off-board includes proof of payment system. The proof of payment system is just when our customer will purchase a ticket before they board. They'll keep that proof of payment until they're inspected randomly by one of our new trip agents. Metro Mobility is similar to the onboard fare payment, where the customer will just pay as they board. They just tap their smart card onto the validator, and they also have an opportunity to pay cash for Metro Mobility. A lot of times, Metro Mobility, they're not able to tap their own card, so the operators will tap for them. Where do you pay your fare? You can purchase it at the web store. Our web store, metrotransit.org. It's a really easy way of logging on, purchasing a ticket, and then it'll be mailed to you. It's processed by our service centers. The retail partners includes over 100 locations throughout the metro area, mostly Cub Foods, unbanks throughout the area. Customers are aware of where these are at. The mobile app, just download the mobile app onto your cell phone, and then you can easily purchase the ticket. Off-board fare payment, we have 2 different types of ticket vending machines. The BRTs, they have the small ticket vending machines. There's always 2 of them for redundancy. If one of them happens to break down, the other one is is available for the customer as well. Our technicians are on their way. We have a team of technicians out there all the time. When the equipment breaks down, they get an instant notification, and they're on the way to repair the equipment. The onboard fare collection equipment, as I mentioned, there's fare boxes, and then there's the bus mobile validators where customers will just tap their as they board. Our current fare structure, we have a combination of one-way fares. Each one-way fare includes a 2.5-hour transfer. We have all-day passes. Our all-day passes are valid until 2 a.m. And then we have multi-day passes, the 7-day pass or the 31-day pass. Our pass programs include the TAP program. That's our low-income program. Our low-income program allows our TAP customers to ride for $1 per ride. We also have a Metro Pass. That's for our employers to offer their employees for an $83 a month. A lot of the employers will subsidize this partially or even all of it through their benefits programs. We have student pass programs for our schools and then college and university pass programs. And now we're getting into the upgrade. We're currently, our system right now was installed in 2004, so we're in major need of an upgrade of our system. Our upgrade that we're proposing right now will give us many opportunities for the customers to make it easier for them to pay their fare. We're going to simplify it for the customers. We're going to simplify it for our staff. This upgrade is going to be 2 phases. The first phase is going to be technology upgrades, which is ongoing right now. We're doing a great job right now. We've started last April. We're meeting every week. It started with completing all of our requirements. Our requirements were completed about 2 months ago, and now we're into full implementation of the technology. Excuse me, the customer-facing technology will start mid-year of next year, and you'll start seeing that on the buses. The buses will get new validators on them, and then we'll start rolling out some of the different options that the customers will have. This was approved by the council in February and for an amount not to exceed $37.7 million.
All right, so this slide, it just kind of helps lay out a number of the items that are currently advancing through the different kind of efforts that we're talking about here today. So on the top, you'll see a summary of the fare policy changes. We've actually broken this out into 2 different phases. So the focus of today's presentation is phase 1, but we will give you a heads up on phase 2 and what we're looking at, and that will be in the coming slides. As Dennis just noted, the cubic system upgrade is concurrently underway. So that kicked off in February with the approval of the contract and is currently in phase 1, with phase 2 also happening in the coming years. And then we also have the free fare pilot, which many of you are aware of, that is currently out on the system, that is scheduled to end at the end of December of this year. So looking at the 2 phases of the fare proposal that we've broken out. The first phase is a number of near-term policy opportunities that we've identified that do help respond to current ridership trends and are things that we can implement now or by January. What we're proposing is January of the new year. So these are some near-term policy opportunities that we've identified. At the same time, concurrent with the cubic upgrade, there is a larger effort going on to do a comprehensive fare policy overview and really look at what the technology will enable and what opportunities that provides for us to do larger scale fare policy changes. So as the previous slide just noted, that effort is very much underway, with the results of that anticipated to come back to the council sometime in 2025. But in the near term, we're looking at opportunities that we have to implement sooner than that.
In developing that proposal, we looked at industry trends. We looked at our peer agencies throughout the nation. And this is a map of all of the agencies that have undergone or are undergoing fare simplification. The red have already been completed fare simplification. The green ones are undergoing it right now, and the blue is proposed. So when we reviewed this, we found some different trends throughout the industry. The first one is peak and off-peak is going away throughout the nation. They don't have the surcharge for peak charge, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Senior disability fares are pretty much all day long. They don't pay a surcharge during peak and off-peak. Fare capping, when we talk about fare capping, that's usually done on a flat system where we don't have a surcharge for AM and PM peak.
Could you, thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
Regional Administrator.
Could you just explain what fare capping is to make sure these are terms that we become very familiar with, but I want to make sure we all understand it as we go.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, council members, yes, absolutely. That's a very good question. Fare capping is a method for a customer to tap their card, and once they reach a certain level of taps, they are maxed out. It's either can be a daily fare cap or a monthly. So basically, your pay as you go until you reach that limit, and then you turn into a daily pass or a monthly pass.
So if I could just add to that. So I think as the council thinks about policy setting next year, you're moving away from how do you develop maybe all the fare products you had in the past, which you could still have fare products if you want of different kinds, and to a different question also on what is the monthly amount you want to cap behind the scenes, either on a monthly or a weekly basis. And the systems that have been able to transition before ours have begun to institute that already. So New York City, there's a fare capping, and you can just ride all week and then it caps you at some point, for example. And so that's going to be a new opportunity for us to be thinking about where your fare level sits as it impacts people over time.
Thank you. Yeah, Councilman
Just so I
Lindstrom.
understand, so if you take 25 rides and you're on that 26th ride,
It's free.
it's free. Okay.
You tap every time, and on the back end, your payment system knows that once you hit the max amount for the month of, let's say it's $93, I'm making that up. Once you're at $93, any ride past that you would not be paying for, which effectively is like a pass, but in case you don't use it enough to need a full pass, you no longer have to worry about it.
Cool. Makes sense?
Yep.
Great. Thanks for that
Thank you.
explanation.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Bushek,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's an excellent way to pay as you go, and I've used it in other transit agencies, and it works really well. You don't have to think about it. You just tap your credit card, and once you tap it a certain number of times, after that, the taps don't charge anymore. It's free.
Cool.
It's a great system to pay as you go. A lot of times our customers right now are purchasing monthly passes, but they're underutilized. They don't use the full value of them. They only use a partial value, so we're overcharging some of our customers.
Yeah, Councilman Lindstrom.
Do we tell people what the cap is? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Like it's a secret.
So that they know.
I guess, Mr. Chair, I guess you don't have to, but we would recommend in our policy that we do.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Borshak.
Yes. Okay. This is our peak AM and PM peaks, comparing what we have now to what we had pre-COVID. And you can see there's been about a 65% reduction in AM peak and over a 35% reduction in PM peak. And that's why we're proposing to eliminate some of our peak fares, because we don't need it anymore. It's not necessary. We're also seeing a reduction in ridership on Mondays and Fridays, and that's more due to the hybrid workforce that we have right now. Fare simplification, this is the proposal that Jillian was talking about. This is what we're working on for our proposal. We're eliminating the local peak. The local peak right now is $2.50. That's the AM and PM peak, and we're going to reduce that down to $2. There's also some passes that are associated that the peak price is built into, and those will also be adjusted accordingly. Phase one, this is phase one, which we will have done if the council approves by the end of this year. We will not include at this time Express bus, that's going to be in phase two. North Star, Metro Link in the downtown zone, that's not going to be included in this phase one. We're just going to keep it focused on just reducing the local peak. And for our reduced customers, our youth and our seniors, that's going to be removed from our local. A transit assistant program, this is for our low income program. It's a program where eligible customers will receive $1 per ride for a one-year eligibility. This is the great program. It's been a very successful year. It's one of our highest ridership pass programs that we have right now. Averaging, the average rides for each of our TAP customers is 22 per month. For last month alone, we had a 14% increase over last year. That's 100,000 extra rides in September of '24 than we had in September of '23. We hold TAP enrollment events. We call them TAP tables, and we do TAP tabling throughout the year. We're just finishing up the year. Just to note, our coordinator, Andrea Keepy, last week, she just had a record number of 48 TAP enrollments in just a little over an hour. So that was, she did an amazing job. She's a very big proponent. She's our coordinator, and we're giving her some help here. I'll be talking about that in a little bit. This is our TAP improvements. We want to expand the TAP eligibility next year from 1 year to 2 years. That will help with staff, that'll help the customers. They don't have to come back every year. They can come back over a 2-year period. This will take place next year as our technology gets put in place for this. We want to increase the effort to improve TAP utilization, where we added extra staff to help Andrea. She's been working it on her own, and now we're adding extra staff so she can help it, so she can have some help. We are focusing on signing up charitable organizations. The slide says 21 additional partners, but I just signed another one this morning. So there's actually 22 partner organizations that we signed on just here in 2024. 2 large ones that we signed on this year, Hennepin County, they have vast resources. They were very excited to become a TAP partner. And then one just 3 weeks ago, Lutheran Social Services, they have a lot of resources also that they're able to help us out. And the simplification, and this is the impact of reducing peak. We're expecting an annual increase of 862,000 rides, and we'll adjust our projections about $3.9 million below our current projections. And then that will, we expect that that's going to slowly increase. For our youth and our seniors, about 64,000 extra rides, and we'll adjust our projections down about $209,000.
I'm sorry, Mr. Riddick, I have a question, please, just on that last slide, and I might have just misheard what you said, but about the revenue impact, and the immediate would be 3.9 million below current projections, and then I think I just didn't follow your wording. What's the future impact, the anticipated future impact on revenue?
We anticipate that we'll still increase our revenue, but it's not going to be quite as fast as we anticipated.
All right, thank you. Thanks for that clarification.
Council members, I'll speak to the aspects of the change proposal that relate to MTS's services. Metro Mobility is proposed for a fare change directly as a result of the local fare change. By federal law, we are capped at 2 times the local fare. Right now, at $2.50, we can charge up to $5. Our peak fare is $4.50. Under the proposed approach, we would be capped at $4, and so that's what we are proposing to follow as the local fare on all-day bus service revises downward. So we would shift the peak fare to $4. We would continue to have an off-peak fare at $3.50. So the gap between those shrinks, but it is helpful in terms of managing demand and scheduling trips to continue to have a peak fare on Metro Mobility. In addition to that, we're also proposing that we would shift the peak hours on Metro Mobility. The reason for this is right now they are tied to really local bus service, but they don't really correspond to when peak demand occurs on Metro Mobility. On Metro Mobility, the AM peak extends, it still is very peaked, unlike how local bus has changed, but it extends later into the morning and it begins earlier in the afternoon. So we'd be lowering the fare, but shifting when the peak occurs. Between 6:30 and 9:30 is proposed in the morning, and between 2 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. No expansion in the total number of peak hours, but a shifting to better align with when that demand occurs and to help us manage capacity and demand during those times. The second piece relates to actually a new service that is a offering of a transit link circulator that we've actually begun in partnership with Carver County. We worked with Carver County around, what are ways that we could each use our new revenues to make transit link service more useful in your community. It's an offering we've made to other counties as well, and I think a promising approach for future service in addition. In this case, Carver County responded, we think the best thing in our area would be to provide a one-day-a-week circulator between Norwood, Young America, and Waconia, and that's actually begun service in partnership with Carver County. The fare for this is set right now on a pilot basis as $1 each way. The standard transit link fare would be $3.50. Doing that two ways would not be an attractive service for customers. A $1 fare each way corresponds roughly to the $2 local fare on fixed route. So we think it's a good approach. So this would set that as a new service and also allow us to continue to promote that partnership opportunity across the region as other lines or other areas may benefit from similar services.
Charles, can I just add one piece to that, Mr. Chair? Just because it was helpful to me in understanding the difference here. So Transit Link on the circulator fare does not have the ability to have free transfers within a transfer window based on the technology. And so the $1 fare allows you to get to the aggregate of $2 across a trip there and back. And I do think that's important to highlight that we're actually, even though it looks like a different number, the result is meant to feel the same to a rider as though you tapped twice and one of them was a free transfer. Did I get that right? Okay.
Yeah, passes aren't accepted either, so it's just sort of a different fare structure to correspond to the technology on board.
Thank you.
And then finally, actually, this is a third element of this proposal is to introduce a 6-month pilot of a deeply discounted fare for Metro Mobility customers, certified customers who are using fixed route services. Right now, there is a legislatively required, this is part of the legislatively required free fare pilot demonstration program that's been in place. It's been free since July 1st of 2023 for METMO certified customers to use the fixed route system. This has been a successful program. As of today, nearly 60,000 rides have been taken using this program. It has not resulted in increased costs for Metro Transit. If even 2% of those rides were taken instead of using Metro Mobility, there's actually a net savings compared to those trips having been performed using Metro Mobility relative to the fare revenue loss of what would have otherwise be a $1 fare. But that's not the real benefit of this program. The benefit of this program is increased flexibility for riders to use to travel for some trips and some trip purposes at a greater level of convenience and spontaneity than they would have with pre-scheduled Metro Mobility service. State law sets a free fare for disabled veterans. Because of that, the council does not have discretion to set free fares for other fare types or populations. For that reason, instead of continuing a free pilot, we are proposing that the council would authorize a 1-cent 6-month pilot as we report to the legislature on the free fare program, perhaps with a recommendation that the legislature set a free fare for certified riders on an ongoing basis. We cannot do that as a council, but we can set it at the next best thing, which is 1 cent. And for that reason, that's why we're proposing to effectively continue that pilot, but not at free, but at 1 cent instead. Pending the outcome of the legislature, this would be a 6-month pilot that could then become, perhaps permanent free if the legislature enacts that in the 2025 session.
Thanks, Charles. I have a comment from the regional administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just one other important part here that Charles has pushed throughout the process of trying to figure out where to go. The disruption to riders as the fare expires and we see success, the timeline for this to end just became, unfortunately, right before the legislature reconvenes. And so the real attempt of the 6-month pilot is to allow the conversation to occur around this successful METMO eligible discounted rate of rider, free fare, to be able to not disrupt riders with a change that has to occur on January 1st for then what we hope might be a permanent change to again happen sometime next year. And we want to be very thoughtful about that because we don't take lightly the idea of moving it down on a pilot basis for a period of time. And we've been in communication with our legislative partners as well to make them fully aware of this approach and plan so that everyone is working in good faith together, thinking about riders first.
Thank you. Great. Any other comments or questions on that? Charles?
Title VI, we are currently conducting a Title VI analysis, and Title VI analysis is required anytime we make a permanent fare change. And that Title VI analysis is currently being conducted by our consultant. We talked to the consultants today. That should be done by the end of the week, and it looks like there's going to be no disparate impact on our customers, BIPAC or low-income customers. So that should come out positive. Well, we should know by Friday.
Great.
All right, this slide essentially just recaps what's already been referenced numerous times throughout this presentation, but there is the free fare pilot, which was legislatively required. This is to provide transit service on 2 regular route bus lines through Council Action. The 32 and the 62 were the 2 routes that were identified, and also to provide regular route transit free of charge for METMO customers. The pilot service was required to run from July 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2024. As part of the legislative requirement, we are required to do a report, which is due to the legislature on February 15th, 2025. As noted here, it must include a number of things, including an evaluation of the pilot and a number of impacts, along with recommendations regarding subsequent implementations. And the early results of those pilots does show that ridership has grown on the free fare routes when relative to their peer routes, and it has increased boarding. But at this time, if you want to go to the next slide. So just wrapping up and looking at the next steps for a number of these items that have kind of been presented. For the fare policy phase 1 proposed changes that have been outlined, the approach or proposal is to go to the Transportation Committee on October 28th with the business item to approve those fare adjustments. During that conversation, we would also provide the results of the Title VI analysis that Dennis just referenced for those required in order to meet that requirement. This would then land before the council as a business item for approval on November 13th. With the goal, working towards the goal of implementing in January of 2025, with the 6-month pilot and the other fare changes. Just a clarifying note that the TAP program changes, while we're asking for approval or would be asking for approval in this package of fare policy changes, that would not be implemented until sometime in 2025 when the technology enables that possibility. But we wanted to make sure that that was taken into consideration with this package of changes. Regarding the fare policy phase 2 changes and the larger effort to look at a comprehensive review of our system, we would return to the council in mid-2025 with the results of that and a possible comprehensive fare policy proposal. And then regarding the free fare pilot, that is expected to we are expected to discontinue free fares on the route 62 and 32 at the end of this year, as legislatively required. We do, as part of this presentation, we're looking at November, want to begin communicating the end of that free fare pilot to our customers and begin to get out the word that fares will come back on those routes. And then we will, internally, staff will begin working on the legislative report with the outcomes of that pilot, which is due in February. So with that, we're happy to stand for any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Ms. Linnell, Mr. Dorshak, Mr. Carlson. Thanks for the report, your work, and your team's work as well. I do have a quick question just on the free fare pilot and I get it that we're communicating with the riders who have been enjoying the free or have been experiencing the free fares. And I'm just wondering what the shape of that communication looks like, or the tone, or the tenor, right? Are they being made aware that this was a legislatively mandated schedule, or how are we communicating that to our riders?
I can take a start, and then you're welcome to chime in. So I think part of this whole, we will have to communicate that we are not legislatively allowed to continue free fares on our system, which is, as we detailed, something we're going to have to work on communicating. I think part of the overall proposal here with the phase one is to also help simplify and make that transition less impactful for those customers. So removing the peak will hopefully help. Yes, it's not going to be good news for everyone. So we're going to have to do it gently in a way that maintains, positive attitudes about riding and paying fares. But the hope is that this comprehensive fare policy proposal will help also simplify and ease that communication challenge.
Thank you, very helpful. Other questions or comments? Yeah, Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've been here long enough that I remember when we used to have a certain percentage of our operating budget that was supposed to come from fares, and we've kind of walked away from that in recent years. I totally get removing the peak fare, but did anybody consider making everybody go to 250 rather than dropping it down to 2? And are they looking for phase 2 to go even lower? Because it seems like we're putting a lot of money into making a nice system, but it's worth less and less and less to our customers, and that's concerning to me. I mean, we have the tap fare for people who truly can't afford to pay, but prices on everything have gone up 20% in the last 4 years or so. And so cutting the fare rather than going to 250 for everybody doesn't really make a lot of sense to me financially.
Charles, do you have a response to Councilmember Wolf's question, or Jillian?
Right, so I think the goal here is to really, in the post-COVID era, put together a fare package that encourages a good experience and can help attract riders back onto our system, because I think we really do want to encourage that and simplify that in the process. As far as looking at $2.50 versus $2, part of the reason that I think we leaned towards the $2 was to take out the element of change in terms of the transaction, while we look at other more national trends around fare capping and how we can actually be more responsive in our fare policy to how our riders are using the system in a way that is equitable but also sustains kind of the revenue that you would expect. So I think the goal with the larger fare policy work is to look at more of those modern innovative strategies that other systems are using to help kind of address your concern, which is that balance between wanting to attract riders to use our system, but also generate revenue to help sustain the services that we have to put out there and provide. And it is a balancing act. And I think this is an attempt in the near term to kind of address the challenges in front of us today, but looking more comprehensively in the phase 2, we can kind of look more closely at that question and whether or not we're hitting that point.
And the regional administrator would like to comment as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Councilmember Wolf, just two other dynamics as we've talked through and thought through these pieces. The mid-dollar amounts to fares are one of the larger conflict points on a system in which safety and security to operators and individuals is important. And so that is part of the strategy, is actually hearing feedback that we've heard through our operations lens as well from operators about someone has whole dollar amounts but can't find 50 cents, and you end up in a spot that can get dicey. And we've seen more unfortunate interactions across society in negative ways coming out of the pandemic. That's a part of the consideration as well, is to limit the types of scenarios in which operators get put into challenging situations. Whole dollar amounts do that. In addition to everything that Jillian said, I would only add to, if we are able to grow the rides by the projected numbers here, there's a broader societal transportation network benefit to reducing congestion through increased rides. That's another benefit that we can provide, even if the fare number went down a little bit. So we've been trying to balance all these. And I would just end by, I'll say, I have not been a part of any meeting in which there have been conversations about lowering the numbers for phase 2. It's been more about fare products, back end dollar amounts. And so I am unaware of anything, and I'm seeing head nods, I'm not in any way have been a part of any conversations where we're trying to like take it 2-to-1 and then have further conversations of lowering the fare product going forward.
Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have to say, I really like the fare capping thing where it just keeps track for you, because I think for a lot of people that can be a problem. Do I want to commit to a whole month's worth of rides, or can I just have it know? I think that's a great use of technology and a way to make things better for the customers. Essentially, though, by not doing fare amounts that have changed, you either increase from 2 to 3 or you never increase the fare. And especially when we're going long periods of time, because before 2017, we hadn't increased the fares for a long time. We're putting ourselves in, you never are going to get away from 2.
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Wolf, great point there at the end about whole dollar amount jumps feel significant. I would actually submit from just my own personal thought on this as we go into next year and continue this conversation here, that if you move to a fare capping model, there's no reason why the back end fare capping model has to end at a whole dollar amount and couldn't consider things like growth over time related to broader trends. If the back end number is $30 a week 1 year, it could be $31.50 the next year, for example, because that's the back end fare capping, even if your fare product stays at whole dollar amounts. And so I do think there's a way in which you can accommodate incrementalism without the user seeing it on the front end exchange. It's on the back end of what you cap at.
I'd be pissed if I was the person that's the frequent rider that's paying more and more when the infrequent riders are not. That's the only challenge with that.
Thank you, Councilmember Wolf. Further discussion, Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I was just asking, what is your outreach effort with small businesses? Because I know that there's a lot of the small business we have with the Latino Chamber is their kids or there's other people involved in the business, and having some of these tools to help pay the cost of having people come in and out and not paying parking downtown especially would be very helpful. And so I don't know where your outreach is going in that area.
Yeah, Dennis.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, council members, yeah, we do have outreach for our local businesses. We have a team that goes out and we encourage them to join our MetroPass program, where employers will offer benefits to their employees. We're looking at adjusting that pass also for hybrid workers, because right now that pass is pretty much priced for 5 day a week. So that'll be addressed in phase 2 also. We also have a team that goes out there and we try to meet with the local businesses.
Chair, yeah, I again suggest that you meet with the chambers of commerce, like ours. Like I said, we have 300 and some members, and
absolutely
having that message both in English and Spanish would be helpful. Yep. And so, yeah, I'd be willing to work with you on that.
Absolutely, thank you.
Further discussion, Councilmember Lee.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, going back to the whole dollar conversation. I know phase 2 is not spelled out, and so it looks like phase 1 isn't going to address the downtown zone, but downtown zone, I believe, is still 50 cents. So I imagine in a phase 2, it might have to go up to $1, right? Or something like that.
Julian?
Chair, council members, correct, we're not looking at changing the downtown fare in the phase 1, but it is something that we would explore and then come back and include potentially in the phase 2 proposal.
Okay,
so thank you for, yeah, we'll make sure that it is incorporated in that analysis and how we move forward.
Thank you. Further questions, comments, discussion? Oh, you psyched me out there, Councilmember Bento. I thought you were raising your hand. Yeah, Councilmember Wolf.
So for people who are paying with cash, do we know, of people who get mad about the 50 cents part of it, do we know how many of them would qualify for the reduced fare anyway, so they would be at $1? Do we look at that kind of information on who they're arguing with?
Regional Administrator.
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Wolf, I don't have a data set to go off. So I'm going to be a little bit anecdotal in just the conversations I've gotten to have with our operations team, with the general manager and folks along the way. There's definitely, we are seeking to continue to expand TAP eligibility, and there would absolutely be some level of overlap between those two issues, like the issue that I described and the group you just said about eligibility. I would imagine there'd be significant overlap there.
Cool. Thank you. Good question. Yeah, Jillian.
Chair, council member, our operators, at least on the bus, are also, they have material to share with riders, introducing them to the TAP program. So if there is something, there is like a pamphlet they actually have in their pocket that they can hand them as an informational to help encourage them to explore that if it is an opportunity for them. So that communication channel is open and actively used. But thanks.
Well, and also just anecdotally, Councilmember Wolf and others, the community I work in and live in use the TAP program quite a bit. They're a lower wealth community and people know about it. And I just hear all the time sort of word of mouth, oh, go here and apply for TAP, you're eligible for TAP. And so it's as you said earlier, I think it was you, Dennis, it's a very popular program out in the communities for sure.
I'll just.
Yeah, please.
Chair and council members, I'll just add on to that. Our operators do receive short pay sometimes where the customer just doesn't have enough. And so that at that point, the operator can give them a TAP application. Also, our trip agents, when our fare inspectors, when they see a customer who didn't pay their fare or underpaid their fare, they will also promote the TAP program. They'll give them information, give them a QR code so they can log on and they can quickly sign up. They'll tell them how to sign up, and they've been very successful. Talking to the trip agents just within the last couple of weeks, each one of them talks to about 20 customers a day about the TAP program.
Nice.
So it's been a very successful partnership that we have for revenue operations with the TRIP program.
Ooh, thanks, Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To me, it seems like a better strategy to focus on people who, for some reason, can't have a go-to card or use their credit card or whatever to get them into the TAP program than to base our fare policy on people who are fighting with our bus drivers over quarters.
Thank you. Regional Administrator.
Mr. Chair, I want, in case I misspoke, I would just clarify and say, I would not view that as the number one piece. I do think that's a part of the broader comprehensive. I think the number one piece is trying to, as Jillian led with, drive ridership into a system and make ease of use of the system at the top. So if I misspoke on that, I wanted to apologize on that.
Appreciate it. Great. Other discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, thanks for the work on this. Thanks for the presentation. We look forward to these actions as they come forward and these phases as they're refined and implemented. Very exciting. Thank you. Cool. All right, moving through the agenda. I don't have anything to report. So then I guess I would look to council members. Anything you want to report on? Anything? Yeah, Councilmember Bento.
I think our substitute chair did a great job tonight.
You're very kind. Thank you. I did my best. Thank you. Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to point out that Dakota County and Washington County are both celebrating 175 years as counties next week.
Love it. Will there be celebrations and?
I know Washington County is having an official celebration. I haven't heard at what Dakota County was doing, but they mentioned it at their State of the County address.
Cool.
Our board meeting.
Thanks for
the
sharing.
Washington County Board meeting will be at the historic courthouse,
Very cool. Thanks. Thank you for that info.
not the week after.
Okay. Other council members, anything? Look to the regional administrator.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Two quick updates. Just, I want to give a shout out to environmental services staff at the Metro plant. We had a fluid bed reactor issue come up last week that led to ash all over the place everywhere. The good news is nobody got hurt. And that always provides opportunities. You know, there's lots of different work going on to understand exactly what led to that issue occurring as the machinery and the procedural stuff. And I want to give a shout out to Lisa and her team that, you know, clean up on something like that doesn't just happen in 10 minutes with a wet vac. I have a picture to prove it that she sent me of it, but it's one of those moments where like people are always working behind the scenes and around the clock, both in moments where everything's working well and then when things are not working well as well. And it's also a reminder that this work can be dangerous, and thankfully no one was in close proximity when the ash left the fluid bed. So anyway, work underway to finish that all up. All is going well, but wanted to share that. And then number two, just highlighting yesterday's announcement about the Gold Line extension that was covered by the media quite a bit. The opportunity to think about continuing, as the East Metro has made significant investments here to expand with the Gold Line and our partners, the opportunities to then provide opportunities to continue to expand and connect the region and our system are coming to fruition in ways that 20 years ago felt impossible, frankly, because we had like one line. We had 0 lines and then 1 line and then 2. And there continues to be a lot of opportunity, but the 94 Express was highlighted in Network Now as a route identified for upgrades. The opportunity to think about ways to continue to build connectivity is important. And I just want to thank everyone and all of our county partners and municipal partners for their work and leadership that leads to moments where you get to have announcements like that.
Yeah, that's very cool. It's cool to read about it. And we'll turn to General Counsel, Ann.
Mr. Chair, council members, thank you. Just a minor announcement, we are in the process of hiring a new employment law attorney. So if you know an employment law attorney who wants to do public sector work in a super challenging, complex, and fun environment, please send them my way.
Great, thanks for that. Anything else? Anything? Okay, seeing no further business before this council, we're adjourned.